Welcome everybody to the RC our Action Podcast. My name is San Antonio, coming to you live from Calgary, Alberta, and today's guest happens to be Blaine Everingham from CARCAR Calgary On Road, and Dave Drok from RC Gears. How's it going, guys?
Excellent. Thanks for having us on the show, Mike.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
Mike.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Awesome. Two gentlemen that actually helped me and my partner Lloyd, who's still MIA at work. And Lloyd, we want you back as soon as you can. Two good gentlemen that helped push the RC Action podcast to become a thing. So from Lloyd and myself, thank you very much, guys, again. And of course, the support from the clubs, which is awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, no worries. Everybody's in this together to grow the hobby and make it better. So whatever we can do.
Yeah. For sure, guys. So, I guess Blaine, we'll start with you. If you could kind of introduce yourself to everybody for those on the watch that haven't seen or know of you. Kind of give them a little bit of rundown about yourself.
Yeah, sure. That's no problem. Yeah. So my name's Blaine. I'm just going to talk about RC. So kind of my RC career started really young when I was just, 5 or 6, I guess. I went to Consumers Distributors and picked up one of those kind of cheap RC cars there and fell in love. Just changed those batteries all the time and drove it around and really drove that thing for a long time. And then gave it up for years because, as you're growing over, you get older. And then I went to school and finished schooling and moved to Calgary and just happened to be passing PM Hobbycraft actually, and thought, oh, what's in there? Because I could see RC cars. So I went in there and lo and behold, they had shelves and shelves of RC cars. So I ended up walking out with Savage and Nitro Savage and found out there was a club in town that raced them and stuff. And so, yeah. I was kind of hooked on that. I did off-road for a while, and then I found out about the on-road club for winter driving, and went down to CARCAR and found out what they needed there, and I ended up buying whatever was required at the time to get started, and ever since then I've been kind of just playing at CARCAR during the winters and pass the time there. And so anyway, yeah, when I'm driving there, I drive touring mod. Allows me to put whatever I want in my car whenever I want and however I want to get around the track. And I also donate my time as the president there. I've been the president for, I guess, 3 years now. I started just kind of as COVID hit, and so there were some challenges there. But yeah, that's my story.
Yeah. It's funny you say about the HPI Savage. That's where kind of like I started, where it went crazy. I think I met some guys when I was in Toronto, and the HPI Savage, when that thing, hits its papa wheelies, you just have so much fun with that thing. You realize there's a whole new world, right?
Yeah, it was a beast for sure. One of the funniest things about those monster trucks were like, they had a class at RC Gears that would race the monster trucks, and you'd always start out with, I think it was 10 guys or 8 guys, whatever the driver's stand was, and only 3 would finish. And that was whether it's qualifying or mains or whatever. And, like they were the worst cars ever because they wouldn't stay together, but they were so fun to drive. And you kind of scratch your head a little bit like, why am I liking this so much when all I'm doing is rebuilding this thing all of the time?
and the thing's such a beast. It's hard to maneuver around the car when it's so big, monster tires all over it. Then you got mud on top of that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Then they released a Truggy, and it's like, oh well, that makes way more sense, the whole design of it. But yeah, no, it was fun. I went to my first off-road race was actually in Red Deer in I don't know what the facility was there, the Western Center, I think it's called. And they had a big off-road race in there, and I didn't know it was such a big thing because you showed up, and I think there was about 80 people, or maybe not that many, 50 or 80, and it just smelled like dirty fumes in there because it was like February, and just a ton of guys just having fun there. And I think some of the jamming was a thing back. Some of the jamming team from the States came up to that race, and
Right.
it just kind of, you saw what it could be, and you just got excited. So
Yeah, yeah. And I guess, you've been president for 3 years. You went through the tough parts of COVID.
yeah,
Yeah,
nothing I do is easy. But yeah,
yeah.
no, for sure. If it's not a challenge, I don't want to do it, you know. But yeah, no, I mean, COVID obviously was really hard on, I think, every RC club and even the stores and stuff. Um, but yeah, for us specifically, having to shut down and the rules in place of our location were quite challenging because it was only one person could be in the whole building at one time. So if
Right.
anybody wanted to practice and stuff, it had to be all scheduled. But we're out of it now, and on a positive side, and on a good trajectory for club members and the way the club's going now. So I'm happy
That's awesome.
with where we're going.
Yeah, that's good. That's good because you know what? Like, even my son, he's in front of video games all the time, and you guys know this. You guys see him at the tracks and stuff. He's in the video games either on iPad, and so badly do I want to get him away from that stuff and say, "Hey, man, play with cars. Let's get you into real cars and stuff like that eventually, right?" So this is why this hobby is so important to the young ones, really, I guess, is the truth, is because us old guys, it see it it's on point, but kind of grow them up and out of the video games, out of the TV and stuff like that, and hopefully move them into something mechanical, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a hobby perspective, just RC cars is a great thing. I mean, being away from video games and doing other things with your hands and learning and how the cars all work, it crosses over to real cars and stuff too. If you can change a tire
Yeah.
on your RC car, you can change a real tire. If you can, change a shock on your RC car, chances are you can change a real shock. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
positives and that comes out of that, besides just
Yeah.
obviously the racing aspect.
Yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
the young kids do get a sense of, when they're playing video games, they can just hit restart and go, or when you break your car, you got to kind of figure it out. So, but Dave,
Yeah.
he can speak most of this. He's great. He's got his
I
family's
know.
into it, and he's teaching his boys.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So Dave, just introduce yourself for our audience out there and let them know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, that's a good segue, fellas. We've been in it since the summer of 2020.
Okay.
I've always liked RC cars. It's funny, Blaine, I had a car from Consumers Distributors as well. It was actually the Tyco. It was a 4-wheel drive thing, and I think it took 8 AA batteries, and you'd get like 12 minutes out of it, and then 12 hours you'd wait, right? Because we could only afford one set of batteries growing up. So, then 12 hours later, you might get another 8, 10, 12 minutes out of it. And God forbid you ever take the batteries out early before they're fully charged. Then you get about a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's how we got into it. My son, Brendan, who races now, he was turning 10 in June of 2020. So of course there's no birthday party. There's no friends coming over. He'd been sitting in front of his Nintendo Switch for a few months by that time. And my wife says, "Why don't you get him an RC car? At least he can do that outside by himself." And I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll go to the hobby shop and get him something that when he breaks it, we can fix it." So we ended up going to PM Hobbycraft, and so I'm standing there. We're trying to find places to run it other than on pavement and the local trails. So we're looking for construction spots or this or that. So I'm standing there and watching, and it kind of dawned on me. I'd seen RC Gears before. I'd driven by it up by the airport in Calgary. I checked it out and I thought, it's not going to be open or anything. And well, it was. And it was one of the only things you could do. We'd be standing outside 6 feet apart on the star where X marks the spot with a mask on, right? But hey, we were racing. So,
Right.
So that's how we started. So Brendan was ripping a slash around, and by that time I'd got a slash too. And we just thought we were going to be bashing and bombing around the track a bit. But the whole idea of actually racing seemed like fun. And we ended up coming back next year with some 2-wheel drive 10 scale. That was a great season, competed in the point series, going on Wednesday night, 10 scale night, and just having fun. spending time with my son. You're outside. My wife and daughter, she'd come as well, and they've enjoyed it. We've turned it into a bit of a family thing, and I blame my wife. Right, it was her idea that suggested
Right, right.
So, anytime she's like, "What? You're doing a podcast tonight?" Yeah, it's kind of, it all goes back to what you suggested, right?
Yeah.
It's been fun, and it's good quality time, and my son learns a lot from it. Like it's
Right.
It's funny with racing, especially the off-road. The more work you put into it, like you've got to do preparation. You want to show up with your car being tuned, prepared, well maintained, and that's you perform that much better on the track. And it's it's kind of funny. I tell him, that's a bit of a life lesson, like where he goes out, has a good race, car's running great. Well, it's typically because you made sure it was that way. But it's
you were ready for it. Yeah,
absolutely. So first season of Dirt, just kind of to wrap up my story there. First season of Dirt, it all started to wrap up in the fall, and we're like, well, this racing RC cars is kind of fun. What can we do? CARCAR. All right. So picked up some touring cars, and that's, here we are, 2024, and I'm on an RC related podcast, and it seemed like a little while ago we were walking into the store wondering what we should buy, how we do it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, and obviously, you and Brandon are running for X-Ray, right?
Yeah, that started at the end of 2021, just as we were going into the on-road season, and had an opportunity to join X-Ray and RC America. And Brendan's pretty solid at it. He's 13 years old. He's quick when he doesn't get himself too frustrated, and he can be quick, and they saw an opportunity to promote it among youth and get another young guy that's competing up here. And X-Ray doesn't have any young guys other than Brendan racing up here, so
right.
It seemed to work out well. And we really appreciate it, and they've been good supporters of us, and might be sponsored, but we've contributed lots back to them too. So in the past, multi classes for both of us. So
right, but that shows viewers out there. You guys can, you guys are the classic story, which is, I don't know, we're going to start out with here and see where it lands, right? And people always ask, Mike, how do you get sponsored? How do you do this? How do you do that? It's just truthfully hard work and show what you got, right? And part of it, to be honest with you, or a big part of it is enjoyment, because if people enjoy it and they watch you enjoying your car, they'll buy this car too, and people will notice, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think helping out at the track, Blaine and I, all three of us, we get involved in these things that are a little bit extracurricular than just us driving, and it takes volunteers to get the club going and keep the clubs going and keep the clubs functioning well. And I think that when you can be a supporter and be part of that community, I think that bodes well as well. And I think that helps if you're looking for opportunities to get deeper into the hobby, for sure. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
there's always sorry, Blaine.
No, I was just going to say, at the club level, there's always things that you can help out with that will make a difference. Time you're donating your time as a hobbyist or somebody that just wants to get into it is the easiest way to become successful. Helping the clubs, and it ends up helping yourself. So
yeah, and you know what, obviously you guys know too, I mean, I'm part of both of your clubs and do a little bit more, part of Saskatoon as well. And you know what, you start to learn a lot more about the hobby and the ins and outs and behind the scenes of, instead of just going their race. So you start having a full understanding of how to really prep for everything and juggle everything while the race is going on, which is really difficult, super difficult to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you gotta make sure you're prepared every Friday night or whatever your plan is,
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So I guess Blaine, I guess another thing we should talk about is the Canadian Carpet Championships. That happened a couple weeks ago, and now it's kind of one of the biggest, I would say, Western Canada on-road events, and it always has been. But I guess tell those a little bit about the Canadian Carpet Championships.
Yeah, sure. So, the Canadian Carpet Championships was just basically a name change to a race that we've always had at the end of last month, at the end of April. It's been a race that we've hosted for years and years, at least 13, 14 years. For a long time, that same time period was used for the Wix finale, which was the Western Canadian Indoor Carpet Championship Series, and
Right.
I think that was the largest race in North America, actually, because it consisted of 9 tracks, I think, that it went
Hmm.
to. And that was over the winter season. And so, anyway, the finale was always held here. And so, here in Calgary. And then COVID hit and Wix shut down. And so, we had to do some other things to help bring revenue to the club. So, we started up a few other kind of races that we had. And recently, when the first year back from COVID, we called it the return of the carpet, because nobody had even been on the carpet in so long. So we had that race, and some guys from Edmonton came from down, and Calgary and Saskatchewan, and a few guys from BC, and you basically had to start over again because lots of people ended up doing other things, and you had to kind of build excitement. So the first race back as the return of the carpet, I think we only had about 35 or 32 competitors. I like to use that metric because if you use classes, it gets a little skewed because you have some guys doing everything, right? But
Right. Ivan
yeah,
Shan, that goes out to you.
yeah, he definitely does everything. So that's 7 classes. It's one person, but 7 classes, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's right.
yeah. So I think we were around that number, and then we grew it a little bit more the next year, and with the help of the ATS series, it grew more people as well. And then this year we really pushed it with advertising and some of the initiatives we had going on, and some things fell through. But long story short is when we got around to running this race, we had it was 51 or 52 guys attend.
Right.
So it
Right.
was, from the numbers perspective, it was successful given what we had done, and very happy with the amount of guys that showed up. I think we even had a E-main um, for the race. So
Wow.
yeah, one of the things we really wanted to do with this race was we wanted to change it up a little bit, as we had always run big races where it was just do 4 qualifiers in the main.
Mhm.
And what we wanted to do is we wanted to showcase the faster drivers a little bit more. And we also wanted to give people that were in the lower mains opportunity to win trophies and stuff, because we had moved away from that. So yeah, so that's exactly what we did. We had people pre-sign up, and so we knew basically how many people were going to come, give or take lead entries, and we were able to order prizes, so that everybody in the top 3 of whatever main they were in was able to get something to go home with. And I think that was really quite important that we did that,
Yeah.
because like the people, doesn't matter what main you're in, it's that's your speed, whether it's the A
Yeah.
or the E or the C. You're grouped in with 8 guys that are your speed, so you're in for a good time. Like, that's the
Yeah.
whole point of qualifying, right? And you're going to be grouped in the same. So if you win that, you should get something. And so that's what we did this year for the Canadian Carpet Champions, was made sure that everybody got something. And then also we thought with the A mains, we'll do double A mains, so that if you're a hero, great, but you have to do it twice in a row. You have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
and it
Right.
gives the opportunity for the slower people to go and watch the lines of everybody, because during qualifying everybody's working pretty hard, usually in the pits, and they don't kind of watch a bunch of racing. But when mains come
Mhm.
around, people kind of stand up and watch and learn and ask questions. So that's the
Yeah.
way we went this year. And I think most the feedback was pretty positive on those double A mains. The people that had mistakes in their first A main, they were the ones that wanted triples and a drop, but I don't think that's quite fair. Triples,
Right.
because there's too much time to those drivers, and you need to keep it equal. But yeah, from the Canadian Carpet Championships, the numbers were way up and the feedback was way up, and I think a lot of people were keen to come back. So it
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
positive experience.
It's important that people acknowledge you've run on the lower mains, because that also gives you the strength to go, yeah, man, I got to keep going, I got to keep moving, I'm moving up this line year after year after year. So it's always kind of an important kind of give me. And then for the double A mains, like that, I hate to see when top drivers lose something for something bad or ridiculous, one miniature, because in the A mains sometimes it's one miniature mistake that wasn't, maybe not even their fault or something, and they totally threw away a race, because 1 through 9 or 1 through 8 is seconds apart from each other, right? So the double A mains is an awesome feature.
Yeah, I think it actually creates smoother or more respectful driving,
Yep.
because obviously if you're starting pole position and guy number 2 rams you, but who knows if you're gonna I mean, hopefully you wouldn't take him out, but there's an opportunity for you to screw
Right.
up his race too, and then the next race, when it goes off, you have to learn to be respectful so that kind of all comes through. But yeah, when you're running these big races, I mean, it takes a lot of people. It's not just one person. It's a lot of planning. It's a lot of advertising. It's working with the facility that you have to make sure that everything is going to go off with a hitch. We've had some problems in the past. We had backups of speaker systems, and we had backups of printers and everything there. And we're actually in an amazing facility where we can even have a canteen in there, and they run and keep our racers fed. So it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think is usually my focus when I'm trying to plan these is one is the dates, obviously, for number one, but I kind of try to ask myself, what is going to get the most kind of people that aren't going to be A main drivers that are going to show up no matter what into the facility? What is that going to take?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like wow, it was awesome to see a lot of out of towners, and you hear from the same out of towners all the time. I always kind of plan for this race. I always plan around this because this is the one I always want to come back to. And that's when it was worth it. It was all the blood, sweat, and tears is all worth it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then for a lot of our viewers, they might not even know. And I know there was a little bit of kind of vocalness from the Eastern. How long has Calgary CARCAR been around?
Yeah, that's a good question. I knew you were going to ask me that question, and I asked a few people to find out if they kind of knew, and even the people that I asked that have been there for ages don't really know. So, one of the guys I asked was Peter Tozer. He's one of the fast guys out here, and he's been racing since he was 16. And since he was 16, I don't know how old he is now. I'm going to say he's around 50. Sorry, Pete, if I'm wrong.
38.
Yeah, he's probably 38, 40 times now. But yeah, so he's been racing at CARCAR since he was 16. It was at the Currie Barracks before on Crowchild. And then it moved to another facility in Bear Spa, but we've been at our current facility at the Horseshoe Club for a long time. So yeah,
Right.
yeah, been around for
Lot-
20, 30 years at least, well over that.
A ton of history. Again, I always say this in almost every podcast. So I'm originally from Toronto. I came to CARCAR, and the Toronto life there on-road racing was either if it was outdoor, we go to a parking lot, set up all the barriers, set up everything, set up a driver stand, and then, pack it all up after a long day of racing. And then carpet was the same thing. You had to roll out and, set it all up and then put it all away because, Monday morning the church is needed or whatever, right? The venue's needed. So when I got to CARCAR, I was just like, oh my God, this is a place that stays here for the season. This is awesome. And, you walk in and it's already ready to go. You just turn on the lights, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for people that aren't familiar with CARCAR, let me just give you a little quick background of the facility itself. Like, we are out of the Calgary Horseshoe Club, and we have about a third of their facility there. We're a permanent track, so we're open basically from October till the end of this month, the end of March, or sorry, the end of April. And during that time, we're open about at least 4 days a week. So we're open 2 days for practice, and then we're open Friday for race day, and then basically every second Sunday for an additional race day as well. So, anybody that has the RC bug, there's definitely the opportunity to drive your vehicle, because with the kind of time we're open, you just come down and play and meet new people and have a good time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. And what I guess what do you see for the Canadian Carpet Championships, ATS, the whole future of CARCAR? Where do you see that kind of going now?
Yeah. So that's a good question. I mean, I kind of spoke to what I would like to see it do already, which is to continue to support the lower classes, to get more attraction there and get more people traveling to these races. I mean, it's expensive to travel, and cars aren't cheap and all that, but we're going to do more advertising to try and get more people from BC and more people from the States up. And, what I'd like to see the race, the Canadian Carpet Championships, at around 65 people would be kind of nice.
Right.
Our facility will fit, well over 100, but, once you start to pull 65, then more people will just naturally start coming. But again, it all starts with volunteers, and this isn't just something that 1, 2, or 3 people can do. So, when we have our AGMs and stuff, then hopefully more people step up so that we can continue to grow the club and be successful.
Yeah, because you know what, CARCAR is definitely on a road to basically, obviously, post COVID is on the road to recovery, and they're looking really good. You guys got the facility, everything to make everything work, which is already a very hard feat. And I know Chuck on it today, but Vancouver, they're always fighting for their Sundays at their venue, and then they're doing the old school stuff, which is roll it all up and put it away, and we'll see everybody back Sunday morning to set it all up, right?
Yeah, no, I feel for them. I mean, that's what you got to do. That's what you have to do. We're just really fortunate of where we're at, and I would hate to lose a facility we're at, because it would be devastating.
Yeah, for sure. And Dave, I guess you off-road season's coming, so you guys have a big race coming up with Blaine and CARCAR, their big one. You guys have a big event coming up, which is if you want to elaborate on it a little bit more.
Yeah, just a quick comment about the Canadian Carpet Championships. That was a great event, and great turnout. And echo your comments about the Horseshoe Club. They're we're all very grateful that we're able to go to that facility. They set up and run the canteen for us. They cook good food during the time we're there. Anytime I've ever met somebody when I'm there hosting practice on Wednesdays from the Horseshoe Club, they're pleasant and happy we're there, and it's great that we can have that facility, and really appreciative of that. Similar for RC Gears, we're grateful to the Calgary Sports Car Club. They've got the property up on Métis and 80th, I think is our address, just straight east of the airport. We've got that facility up there, and we are going to be opening hopefully Sunday for a little bit of track work, and that'll give us a week for a little preparation, a little practice for the Rocky Mountain Meltdown on the 27th and 28th. And over here, I'm just looking at another monitor. We've got quite a few signups already, 13 signups in e-buggy, and
Right.
a lot of people are watching the weather. I'm not going to say anything, but actually, I'm just going to stop there. I don't want to jinx anything. There might be some reasons that there's more signups and more signups. So that's positive. But Mike, it's a big event. We get a lot of people that come down from Edmonton. We get several people that come out from Saskatoon, and it's great because it's usually we have the weather permitting, we have the first off-road event in the prairies. And the track was looking absolutely fantastic. I stopped in on what is today, Wednesday. I stopped in Monday evening before we had that little bit of
Mhm.
precipitation this week. And the track, after it's been, sitting under the snow and it's had a gentle melt on it, it's perfect. It's super smooth. You can see there's a ton of traction out there already, and
Yeah.
it's not going to get a whole lot of use even before we have the meltdown. So it's going to be like that fresh early season track under a nice snow melt. So I think we're going to have some great conditions for the meltdown.
Yeah, and I actually put a lot of work into last year, and even I think prepping before the last race, where I think the rain and everything else you guys had kind of readjusted for, and now obviously is let's do a job basically, right?
Yeah, last year was a major track rebuild. We spent a decent amount of the club's funds to put some proper drainage in there. And
Yeah,
what was happening, it just seems that we were getting, more and more of those, short cloud bursts, but you got a lot of water in a short period of time, and we were having these spots on the track. We were working to have, some drainage, but it needed to be rebuilt from, ground up, and proper drainage that drains. I think it goes to the south, and we can really see the difference. So you get a quick
yeah,
turnaround. You get a couple of warm days and a little bit of breeze going, and the track will dry up pretty quick for us. So it was important, especially when we
yeah.
have big races. People are traveling. They can't be so weather dependent.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? That I guess that's kind of like one of the downfalls of an outdoor. It's great to have nitro because me, I'm a nitro guy, but the one of the downfalls is it's always Mother Nature comes first, and if you're not ready for it, and last you got all that work, at least it's starting to do better and do its job, right?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons we were able to do a major track beat rebuild last year was great support from an organization, Kitco, the excavation company. They dropped off a lot of the fill for us, and they gave us that dirt. So I say
Right.
that to give them a shout out. Thanks a lot to those guys. That's they didn't have to do that. They went out of their way to do that for us. And maybe there's an organization out there that has a large tarp cover the thing, donate to RC gears, and we could we could race when it's raining outside, like a
Yeah.
beautiful sprung tent or something, heated,
Yeah,
four season.
I,
yeah,
yeah. I just noticed Tim Bulb actually is on on our YouTube, and he actually said, "Dang, now I have to rate off road." So hopefully, gonna get car guys come back off road as well, which is good, man. But yeah, and you guys have that big race, the meltdown, and there's always another big one that usually happens later on in the year as well, isn't there?
Yeah, the Nitro Stampede happens August long weekend, and that's we have a really good turnout for that. We'll see. Last year we saw 50 entrants. I'm really hoping that we can get up in that 65 mark that Blaine's talking about. Our RC Gears has had growth in its membership in the few years that I've been involved in it, but we've seen some real pickup in with CARCAR and on-road racing this year. There's a lot of people that are coming out, and it's fantastic. I hope we see a similar amount of growth in the off-road season as well. And it's whether it's on dirt and jumps, or it's you're trying to shave off tenths of a second or hundredths of a second, it's racing. And
Yeah.
hopefully we see people come and join us outdoor and in the sunshine, and get a few off-road sessions under their belt.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing too. I heard this over the weekend. So obviously you guys knew we put together a cheese meet that had obviously car and RC gears, and shout out to the Rude Boys and Blackfoot RC. It's kind of nice to see clubs slowly starting to evolve and get together to rebuild every club and put every back on its feet properly. So you know it's always good when CARCAR and RC Gears start the motions and work together, and people start transferring over because our CARCAR season's done, and off road starts to begin, and then when off road starts to finish off because of, unfortunately, we get snow here in Calgary and goes back to CARCAR. We keep everybody, together, and everybody says, yeah, I know everybody there because it's the same guys that race at the other club, which is awesome, right? And when you start to realize people to, become family and just, yeah, I feel comfortable being at either club, and it helps both of the clubs kind of grow together, right?
Yeah, you're totally right, Mike. Like the clubs, I think we've always kind of wanted to work together, but it's always been a little bit of a challenge just because of different scenarios here or there. But I think that swap meet that we just put on really showcased that there is an appetite for RC in Calgary, external to what we're already familiar with, because we had that swap meet and there was a lot of foot traffic through there, and there's guys that showed up with boats and crawlers and everything, and there's no reason that we all can't work together. I mean, I realize you can't drive a crawler around our track or that kind of thing, but there's still things that we can all do to make everybody's club better. It's not one against the other. It's how can we kind of work together to make everybody better.
And same thing goes with like other cities, right? Like, constantly both of your clubs are working with other cities to make sure like we're in line with Edmonton and in line with Saskatoon, and everybody kind of, says, I got to move mine over because they want theirs there, and I'll move over next year kind of thing. And then what ends up happening is everybody just starts traveling to each other's races. And I know Saskatoon having their big race coming up here on this weekend, actually. A couple of our Calgary guys are going down, right? And a couple of the Calgary are coming down, and I think Blaine, you were kind of mentioning just before we went live, I think you're planning to go down to Saskatoon as well.
I am, yeah. I think right now I'm going, and then Ken Miller's going. I think I saw Ivan Chan's going. So I think Bob was thinking about it. I don't know if he got the time off, but yeah, they support us, so it's nice if we can go there a little bit too.
Yeah.
So looking forward to having that race. Yeah,
and it happens and that's a good thing, right? When it happens in the city and around Western Canada, which is awesome because then, everybody ends up knowing each other and gets comfortable when you're in another city, because now you're just like, yeah, I haven't seen you since Calgary. You know what I mean? So it's always comforting, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it's always nice to go to a different track and see the new layouts and that kind of thing, especially probably for off-road for Dave, because, their track changes once a year, if that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, so going to a new track makes a big difference in your skill level.
It's pretty challenging. It's one of those key things, I see that with Brendan, right? We and you see it with young people when you go to some of these out of town races. You'll struggle as you get a little bit accustomed to your home track. You find the rhythm a few times and you get used to it, and then you go to a new track and the dirt will, slightly different surface. The tires that would work for you at home don't work, and you've got to figure out what compound, what tire. You keep doing setup changes, and you're trying to track with kids. They go out there, run through a few battery packs, and they got a handle on it. And and I think the advantage on the big races when it is a brand new track and nobody is on that track or runs that track until practice. I think the youth might have a bit of an advantage there because they sure amazing.
Well, that's where all their video games come in, because they've been running those lines on every racetrack forever, for sure.
Yeah. That's why I don't get mad at Enzo.
Glasses on too. They've got the eyesight advantage as well.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's why I don't get mad at Enzo when he plays Mario Kart, because I'm like, okay, learn your lines there. You know what I mean? So
training.
Yeah, but and I guess with the meltdown coming and I guess CARCAR closing down for the season and stuff like that. There's probably a huge excitement of everybody, and I kind of heard it at the swamp. People are like, you know what? I gotta start figuring out if I'm coming to off road, and a lot of the guys who have talked to me already have been telling me that rebuilding the nitro engines and getting their battery packs and shock packages ready. They're ready for off road, which is super exciting when you hear a lot of people have come from the CARCAR and now moving on to RC Gears and kind of opening up there.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by off-road rebuilds right now, all around this office that was converted into a hobby rebuild room.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And the thing me and it was kind of good for all the clubs to kind of get together under one roof, which was, for me, I always loved to see a boat, but I never understood it, and I got to talk to some people so that to see, if I ever want to get into this, how do I get into it? And these guys could actually tell me, Mike, this is what the new ones do, this is what mine does, and stuff like that. So it's kind of like eye-opening. And I heard a lot of guys ask me, Mike, what are they racing in there? And I'm like, oh, they're racing mini USGT. It's what we do here Sunday, and check it out. And they were able to a couple of them were able to actually run their minis because they were selling them, and then they ended up running them, which I thought was kind of cool, right?
Yeah, I thought it was well done that you timed the swap meet with the race. That's great. More exposure.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that you can race RC cars. So quick question back to you, Mr. Moderator. With the boat guys, do they race boats anywhere?
Not that I to be honest with you, I never asked them. So truthfully, I'm not a good swimmer, and I'm not like, I don't have a boat. So my question was, how do you rescue when it's in the middle of the pond? And he told me, he said the new ones actually, come flip and come back to you.
Yeah.
And I was more shocked about that. I never even asked about racing. Oh man, that's way beyond me right now. I'm at HPI Savage, comparable right now. I'm just ready to run on the water and see what happens, right?
Yeah,
But,
I've actually
yeah.
seen quite a few. I think maybe about 4 or 5 years ago they were racing somewhere one day, and
Right.
I went and saw it, and it was kind of neat watching them go around. And they did at that point, if they flipped over, they had like a boat that they just paddled out to it.
Yes.
Somebody was on
Yeah.
a paddleboard. I can't remember the exact
Right,
scenario.
right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, a boat is definitely
Yeah.
in my future. As soon as
Yeah, that's what they were telling me too, that you have to go either paddle or swim out and get it. I'm like, whoa, that's not me, but that thing looks absolutely cool. And they had trailers and lights, and
Yeah.
it was just absolutely amazing. Then the semi guys came around, and those guys absolutely floored me. They were awesome dudes, and they're honking the horn, reversing the truck, and I'm like, man, am I watching a real truck or an RC truck, right? Which
Yeah, I think
is eye-opening, right?
I think I saw a YouTube video of a guy with a semi with a boat on a trailer, and he drove the semi and then backed the boat up on this with the trailer to the water, and then took off on his boat right onto the water and ripped around, and then drove it back to the semi and put it right back on the trailer. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
he's pretty serious here. This is nice to see. Yeah,
I just had a question from Rod in Regina. He's asking, is there any off-road carpet tracks in Calgary right now?
Not right now, not yet. Maybe Rod wants to come to Calgary and open one up.
We know our friends in Edmonton are doing a big one, and they're Randy Van, shout outs to him and Jeremy and the whole team in Edmonton there, and I'm hoping to get them on the podcast so we can kind of feature them a little bit. They have a carpet track which is doing really awesome up there, and they're racing weekly, which is cool there too. So Rod, just in case you're listening and wondering, definitely reach out to them, and they'll be a little bit of the carpet fun. But I guess with that being said, and you guys, we'll start out with you, Dave. What do you think is being you guys are both heads of clubs? What do you think is the success that has made our year what it is today, and see what it could help in the future?
Yeah, it's it really boils down to the volunteers, people that dedicate some of their time and energy to supporting the club. It's whether it be the driver's stand, you're quite a ways up there, the sun, wear and tear, wind, people just show up out of their own time and rebuild the staircase getting up and down. People that
Right.
build their pits up, make their pits look nice. We've still got a little bit of maintenance to do around the place, but John, over the past few years, he's done a great job, and we've seen a lot of the place is great. You drive in there. We hear it from people all the time. They think it's a fantastic facility. As you know, one of the folks that don't dedicate some time out there myself, you always see opportunities. Okay, we need to work on that area. We need to work on that over there. It's a lot of volunteer time, and I was able to walk in and start helping out and get into it when the track is in great shape and the facility is an excellent facility. So a lot of that work was done before my time. And then the other part is we've got a lot of families that come out. There's lots of young people that are driving, father-son, father-daughter teams. Point out reluctantly, one of our fastest drivers at both tracks is an 18-year-old, teenager. She lift us all off, right?
Yeah.
And, fantastic. But it's great to see the families come out, the Tozers and ourselves, Brendan and I, and there's lots of families that come out in the on-road and the off-road. So you get that good energy. It's a positive energy. Some people get a little bit excited, but where else can you get a really good adrenaline rush and safely make it to work on Monday, no matter what? You can get a great big adrenaline rush racing, RC cars, toy cars. And you really get yourself hurt, which is pretty nice, actually.
Yeah. And Blaine, what about you? What do you think about it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I echo Dave's for sure. I mean, members are the key value. That's where all our value is in as a club. I mean, obviously, without them, we don't have any clubs. So, having that positive energy in the club is the most important thing. And so they help out in a number of different ways. Some of our key facing members are those practice marshals that for Tuesdays and Wednesdays, they're there, they're opening the club, but they're also greeting new people that are coming in the door. They're also, looking around and saying, you know what, it's pretty busy in here. We'll just run mini for 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And then we're going to switch over to touring car, just to make sure that all those people that are just kind of coming out for the first time, that they're greeted well and they have a good experience, and even just other members walking up to new people and saying, hi, my name's Blaine, welcome, thanks for coming, how can I help you? One of the great things I do see at our club happen over and over again is, with on-road, it's a lot about setup and talking about lines and that. And we're never going to be the fastest guys in the world. At least I'm not. I'm way too old for that. So we're all good with sharing information. Nothing's a secret, right? Like, if you want to know what body I'm running, no problem. You want to know what tires, why I changed my troop, whatever the scenario is, we'll share that in order to make you faster. Because quite honestly, the best races I've ever had are not the ones that I finished 3 laps ahead of somebody. It's the one that you're 1/10 at front or 1/10 behind, and it doesn't matter if that's position 7 and 8 or 1 and 2 and whatever mean. Those are the races I remember. So that's what we want to replicate it and have the most of. Those practice marshals and just a positive atmosphere in the club is really good. Another thing that I like to push a little bit is as track design and flow. We don't want to have tracks that aren't really flowy and where it's more of the driver kind of driving the track instead of racing another racer. If the track's just too hard, then we need to change it. If somebody running a mini or a USGT can't get around it clean, then it's just too hard. Let's make it easier and more flowy. And then as a part of that too, I like to, if we have the time, I like to also make everything as nice as possible, put up banners everywhere, make it look like a racetrack,
feel.
Like you're walking into somewhere that's different and unique. And so have that feel and have that look. And that kind of brings people too, because they think, oh, I'm going to a racetrack. It's not just a carpet on the ground. It's actually feels and looks like a racetrack, right? And then one of the most important things that I haven't mentioned yet is advertising. Like, we've always had an advertising initiative, and we've done it in different ways. It kind of died off for a few years, but the last couple of years we did a few different things. And this year, as you know, because you were a big help to that, or did almost most of it, was the advertising through Facebook and I think Instagram and stuff, and just getting out there, just little posts all the time, a couple of times a week, saying something's going on here, guys. And people started to follow, and the more people that were following, the more people came out. So advertising done right is a big difference to our bottom lines.
Yeah, I guess, advertising is really just, shouting it out, right? Is saying, "Hey guys, here's something happening." And I always fear when I do all the advertising for the clubs that I do is, am I saying too much? Am I being too much? Is it aggravating? And people say, "No, Mike, it's good because I actually forgot that there's a race this weekend, even though it happens every Friday or every Sunday, right?" So, which is always good. And with as far as the people, yeah, definitely, I could definitely see, and I hope a lot of people take that away out, while the viewers out is, we always are looking for people to help all these clubs because it doesn't matter if it's 10 people, 20's better. If 20's, people are there, 40 people's better, so don't ever be afraid to ask us, "Hey, man, I want to help out. Where can I help? I'm good at this. Let me put my hands in and see if I can, help us in this thing." So people who are watching out there, please go up to these kind of people and say, "Hey, I'm looking to help out." And, both of you, it's one of those things that I think a lot of people forget, though, is that it's hard to be the yes no guy. And that's what you two are in both of these clubs, is the yes no. Like, sometimes the stories end with you guys and the decision making. And that's also a tough feat as well, because you don't make everybody happy, right? That's the biggest part.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, as the president, you never will make everybody happy, but it's also, I want to speak to that. We're not really the yes no guys. Our members are the yes no guys. Like, I mean, we will obviously shoot down some crazy ideas and not bring it to the membership. But ultimately, if it's a reasonable idea and it makes sense, then it's brought to the membership and they vote it. So it's the members that again drive the direction of the club, no matter what our mission
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And I guess, that said, guys, I want to say, from Lloyd and myself, from our viewers who are obviously watching on the RC Action podcast, both of you, thank you very much for supporting the podcast. They were both the people that kind of stepped up and said, "You know what, Mike, we want in and we're going to help out and we're going to make this thing happen and see where it takes us. And hopefully it helps both clubs out." And it looks like things are starting to grow in Calgary and kind of spread over to Western Canada. We're starting with both of your clubs and hopefully continues to keep growing. So, one, I want to thank you guys for obviously supporting the podcast, and two, thank you for being here today and tonight, and hopefully we can kind of close the season for CARCAR and move to RC Gears and get back to and then after that go back to from the dirt to back to CARCAR in the carpet again.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it, Mike.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. So we will be putting out a show. We'll advertise that's coming up. Unfortunately, I'm actually moving, so and with Lloyd kind of being questionable about his work and stuff like that, we're still not sure about his schedule. But pretty soon we'll come out with some more RC Action podcast live. And it will let you know of the dates and the future guest. Again, Blaine and Dave, thank you very much, and it was awesome having you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, see you guys.